Hello everyone and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Now today I'm going to discuss COVID and its potential impact on the festive fixture schedule and also maybe provide some clarity around the decision-making process from the Premier League when determining if a game goes ahead or not. Now I've had a lot of questions following the postponement of the Aston Villa game on Saturday afternoon, and we have covered this in various forms, either on the timeline, podcast, Twitter space, but I don't think we've got it all in one space. So hopefully I can look to maybe answer a few of your questions here and now. First thing to mention, this isn't a purely numbers game. Good example, Tottenham Hotspur last week, 6 positive COVID tests, their game was postponed. Brendan Rodgers, he revealed that the Leicester camp had 7 positive COVID tests and their game against Newcastle went ahead. Now, why? It comes down to the individual clubs, and these are dealt with on a case-by-case basis and their ability to field a team. We heard from Thomas Frank on Thursday morning. He spoke at the beginning of the press conference of having 9 players who had tested positive. Now, this is an evolving situation hour by hour. By the end of his press conference, that had actually increased to 13. So there was an additional 4 members of the squad had tested positive. So that impacted massively on the likes of Brentford and their ability to field a team because they're smaller. They don't have the strength and depth as maybe some other clubs. Manchester United, for example, beginning of the week, they had 19 positive tests within the club. They returned to training on Wednesday morning, and after initial testing, they identified a further 4 members of staff who tested positive. Now, what managers are asking for at this moment is transparency. And by that, what we mean is, who are those 19 players? Who are those 6 players? Who are the 7? It can be members of the backroom staff, members of the first team, or members of the development squad. So the Premier League are considering who it's actually impacting on initially for their ability to get out a starting 11. So another good example would be you could have 3 positive COVID cases, but if all of those were to affect your goalkeeper, then the game would be called off. So again, I stress it's not purely down to the numbers. We then look at the severity of the outbreak and how it's went through the club and who's catching it and how quickly. That's taken into consideration. Again, also the impact on the club as a whole. The training ground facilities, do they remain open? Does it need to go for a deep clean? How has that impacted on the team's ability to be able to prepare properly ahead of the game? If the training ground has been closed, then there's a very good chance that the game will be called off. Likelihood is because players and teams haven't been able to prepare properly. The Premier League are also considering the safety of those players or those people involved in and around the game. So not just the playing staff, but also the backroom staff. So it's quite a complex situation. There's no black and white. That's why the decision-making process is unique to every club, because you need to consider their own particular circumstances. Now, a second question that I was asked today, specifically with regards to Aston Villa, because the likes of Ollie Watkins, etc., had been much the target of many transferring in. The assumption was, would the Villa game be called off in game week 19 on Boxing Day because it will be within that 10-day self-isolation period? Again, I'll stress that isn't the case. We need to consider other things. Now, in between now and Boxing Day, teams like Villa and other clubs will have players returning. We know that Morgan Sansom, El Ghazi, I think Jed Steer, Keenan Davies, they had all absent from the matchday squad recently, believed to be COVID related. We also had Emi Buendia, Ashley Young, players who are carrying injuries. They should be past fit and fine. So the chances are in 7-8 days' time, the likes of Villa and other clubs will have players coming back. So it will be a situation that is monitored on a daily basis. Now, clubs will meet on Monday for clarity over the situation and also discuss the Premier League if they have a plan A, plan B and a plan C in place, because of course the COVID situation has been discussed. We've seen from Project Restart, and ahead of this season they met with the clubs to discuss contingency plans. So those will be cleared and discussed with the clubs. But for now, I understand, there are no plans to pause Premier League proceedings. As far as you're concerned, games will go ahead as long as everybody's safe and well. And yeah, we will try to get as many fixtures in as possible, because what the league don't want, they don't want congestion, particularly as we know we go on towards maybe May. Now, fortunately, it is a World Cup year next year, but it's in Qatar. So potentially it could be extended beyond May if that was the case. But like I say, I stress, as it currently stands, there are no plans to stop the Premier League. Although, you know, the situation, as we've seen with Watford midweek, as we've seen with Villa, games were on until hours before the kickoff. So this does change. We've also heard from Arsenal tonight. They've identified a positive test, and also Diego Llorente from Leeds is missing from the matchday squad. So we can maybe assume that that is COVID related. So that's your update for now. Please keep following. And if you're not subscribed, click that button. All our videos, as they drop, you will get notified live. And if you have any comments, pop them in the box below. We do read all of them, I promise, and we try to respond to them as many as we can. But for now, that's all, and see you again soon.